Okay, everybody, here we go. It's me, Gregory Mannarino. Thursday, May 16, 2024, pre-market report. People, we have a lot to talk about here, and I want to put some light on where we are going and why we're actually being pushed into this direction, and it's deliberate. You all know that. There has been a long-going debate, ongoing for I don't know how many years now, whether we are going to fall into an inflationary depression or a deflationary something or other. Let me just lay that all to rest right now for you. There is no way out of an inflationary depression, and some would say we're getting there right now. I would have to agree with that. Let's just put a little more light on that. What is the goal of central banks collectively? Do you know what it is? So I'm going to tell you what it is. That is to inflate more so than we already have. The situation here is dire. The goal of every central bank right now is to devalue their currency. Collectively, central banks are working to issue in a new system, and that means destroying the purchasing power of the currency and bringing down an entire class of people with it. There really should be no debate here with regard to where we are going. And this could get exacerbated much faster as the world is disconnecting themselves from the US dollar being the reserve currency right now. Who's going to suffer the most here? Well, of course, it's going to be the American people. Look, the number one export, I've been debating myself for a very long time what the number one and number two exports are of the United States. And I'm going to tell you this, the number one export of the United States has been overall in aggregate inflation. The United States, being that we have the world reserve currency, allows us a great ability to export inflation to the rest of the world, and they're frankly sick of it. Number two is propaganda. The propaganda that we export to the rest of the world is quite extraordinary here, how strong our economy is. We're the envy of the world. We heard this out of the mouth of creature Bidenstein thing, vomitous mass. I should cut him a little slack here. The man is obviously suffering from some cognitive deficit, probably because of his age. So maybe I'll back off on that just a little bit, because I do tend to offend people. Hey, you know that? You know something? Talk about offending people here. So yesterday, in case you didn't catch my post-market, I actually spit on a picture of Ben Bernanke. And some people said, hey, Greg, you took it too far. No, I don't think I took it far enough. But anyway, if spitting on a picture of Ben Bernanke is all you got out of my last video, you're probably in the wrong spot here. These creatures, these Federal Reserve things, are on a mission to destroy you. Period. The end. And if that gets to you more so than what they're doing to you, then I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so what I want to talk about here is, again, more of this inflationary depression thing. There is no way out of central banks devaluing their currency here and inflating the debt even more so. Exploding debts and deficits, that's the name of the game. Who makes up the gap here? It's central banks, obviously. We know for a fact, and it's right on the Federal Reserve's own website, since February 26th of this year, the Federal Reserve has inflated at least 416 billion, which they've added to the money supply. But it gets much greater than that, too. And we're going to talk more about war spending and where this is going. This is from today. And that is another mechanism to allow central banks to inflate. Now, let's just start off here with the market. New record highs across the board yesterday. And that mechanism here is extraordinary. You and I have said, we called it out right here, the faster the economy free falls, the higher the market's going to go. A lot of this is about more debt being pumped into the system, currency devaluation, loss of purchasing power. We know where this is going to go, and no matter who they put behind the Resolute desk, whether it's Trump, he's already told us what he wants. He's already said the dollar is too strong. He's looking for currency devaluation, a loss of purchasing power, making sure the corporate agenda is fulfilled. Biden, he doesn't know what's going on. He's just going to go with the flow. The man, again, in my opinion, is cognitively affected, and he's just a perfect puppet. Anyway, so let's talk about a few things here. So we got some pretty extraordinary information this week with regard to inflation across the board, the producer prices, consumer prices. Now, I just want to read this to you. It's an interesting little piece that was written by Alicia Wallace, and it's here we go. So, U.S. wholesale inflation just hit its highest rate in a year. Americans already contending with persistent and stubbornly high inflation. Oh, it's sticky. Continue to get more bad economic news with regard to inflation. And more price hikes are likely coming down the pike. Absolutely here. There's no way out of more inflation coming, and it could be extreme moving forward, and I'm sure it's going to be as central banks fulfill their goal. Wholesale inflation picked up in April to the highest rate in a year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. On a monthly basis, prices rose 0.5%, much faster pace than was expected. Now, again, every projection by the central bank here, in this case the Fed, has been wrong. You think that's just by coincidence? No, it is not. Now, with regard to that and moving into an inflationary depression, another neat little article here. This one is by, let's see, this is on Heard It All Things Considered. More Americans are falling behind on credit card bills. In case you don't know, defaults on every type of debt is skyrocketing right now, and that is putting a strain on the balance sheets of especially the smaller and regional banks, for which I've been urging you to get your cash out of for the longest time. Put it into a credit union. These are safer. They are not safe. They are safer. Or a major Wall Street institution like JP Morgan, for example. Okay, they're not going down. They have a direct link to the Federal Reserve. The big banks, absolutely. Their balance sheets are loaded up with bad debt, which continues to get worse. I'm going to cover this in a moment here. But again, what's happening, it's an amazing situation that they've set up. The smaller and the regional institutions, they're going to fall like dominoes. This is being held back from the public. Wait till we move more into 2025. Now, the big institutions are going to buy their assets, the smaller banks, the regional banks, for pennies on the dollar. This is how the bigger banks are going to benefit from the collapse of the smaller institutions. It's coming. Just be ready for it. It's already set up. It's just a matter of how it's going to play out. So anyway, as we know, as I said, and we've been covering this for years, debt defaults, the middle class being systematically erased. So let me just look at these lines here, okay? More Americans falling behind on credit card bills. Maxed out borrowers are a big concern, and they are trapped in an expansive debt cycle. More Americans are falling behind on their credit card bills. Now, it's not just credit cards. It's loans across the board. About 8.9% of credit card balances fell into delinquency just over this year, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. A sign that a growing number of borrowers are feeling the strain of rising prices and the, contracting economy. Everything is more expensive, but I thought our economy is booming. Debt is more expensive. Rent is more expensive. Food, gas, everything. Okay, this is going to get much worse. Henceforth, we are moving into an inflationary depression. Now, just to push this point home yet again, how much money does the U.S. spend on war and is going to spend? Now, let me just read this to you real quick. Most recently, and I'm not going to, maybe I will. So Joe Biden signed a $95 billion U.S. military aid package allocating funds to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and the Indo-Pacific region. On top of that, the National Defense Authorization Act of 24 authorized a military spending of nearly another $886 billion. Now, what they're trying, look what they say here. That money will go to bolster the American defense industry. So what they're trying to sell you here is it's a good thing that we're funding war around the world because that money goes to bolster the American defense industry. Do you see how they word these things? It's a scam. You're being scammed. Let me tell you something else about this. This is just the beginning. And this is just the latest installment of the cash that we're sending all over the world to fund war, which is massively currency negative, which means, again, inflationary depression. That's where we're being pushed into and some would say it's happening right now. People who are falling behind on their bills, people who are maxed out, according to this article right here, maxed out borrowers is a big concern. They're already in an inflationary depression. Just a matter of time before this disease sweeps the rest of us, but this is deliberate. Central banks, colluding with our loving, caring representatives here, are going to continue to devalue the dollar in this case. Suck the purchasing power out because they're working together in tandem, okay? That includes Trump too, okay? And of course, the idiot behind the Resolute desk who has no idea who he is or what's going on here. We and they are working with the Fed to move us into an inflationary depression, okay? These last 3 presidents have done more than every president before them to empower the Fed. Oh, Trump's trying to bankrupt the Fed. That's why he's spending so much. Can't bankrupt the Fed. Anybody who has that kind of mentality does not understand that the more debt a central bank is called to pull into existence, the stronger they become, not the weaker. Wake up, people. You're being sold a lie again. We got no representation no matter who they put behind the Resolute desk. We have each other, and that's all. By understanding the current situation, it puts us in the right spots. We can bet against the debt, become our own central banks, make the right connections, make the right moves here. With regard to that, if we realize that we're moving into an inflationary depression, probably a hyper-inflationary depression, you need to have exposure to commodities. You need gold and silver, more specifically silver in your portfolio here. You need to stay long the stock market right now. That means betting the market's going to go higher because it is. The Fed put is in place already and they are buying the debt. That's also currency negative, inflationary depression positive. You understand? Excuse me. Do you see where we're going here? So the debate is over. We are moving into, and some would say we are now in an inflationary depression, which is going to get much, much worse. I want you to understand, your currency is not magically going to gain in value. Understand? The value of your currency that you transact in, that we are forced to, we're actually compelled to do this. Did you know that? Look it up for yourself. The government has the authority to compel or force you to transact in dollars. The government being the Federal Reserve. They have us by the throat, people, and they're not going to stop squeezing the air out of us and the life out of us, okay? Inflationary depression, that's where we are, and that's where we are going. So, and there's no way out of it. So start getting hip to the situation. Start taking action, as I said. Become your own central bank. Bet against the debt. Stay long this market right now. Period. I don't know another way to put it. Expect war spending to vastly expand from here. Spending across the board, governments being the Fed, as they fulfill their end game. The central banks of the world are the government, the Bidens, the Trumps, whoever, they have no say-so in a damn thing. You may think that they do. They're not kings, okay? They're just a figurehead that some people actually believe are gods in this kind of an environment, but it's crazy. Sent by heaven to save us all. No. We've been warned about false prophets in the past. Sound familiar to you? Anyway, people do not, they see things, they read it, they believe in it, but at the same time, they just don't, they're unable to see, they're blind. They've been blinded. All right, anyway, look, this guy here loves you a lot from the heart, people. Hope you got something out of this video. An inflationary depression is a lock. And just count on this whole thing getting much worse, much faster. So you better take action. This is a channel for people of action. I lay this out for you. I give you actionable material, and I hope you're taking advantage of that. I really, really do. All right, let's see where this goes. This guy here loves you. Again, as I said, I will see all of you 4:05 p.m. Eastern for the live stream. I hope to see you there. And until that time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.